are here. We are live. Child, we are in the place. Get in here, get in here. It's time to get into some things today, okay? So hopefully we are here. Can you all hear me? Are we good? All right. Everybody get in here, get on board. It's time to get into some things today, all right? We got a lot to talk about. Not too many fireworks in the court today. Jane Doe did her cross today with the defense. Teeny Garagos was the attorney doing the cross-examination. I don't feel like she was that great today. I do feel like Jane Doe carried the cross and she was directing, okay? She was controlling and leading that entire cross-examination, if you ask me. To me, this was definitely a win for the prosecution and definitely a loss for Team Diddy, in my opinion. I'll tell you why later. Also, Young Miami finally gets mentioned in court today, and it seems like Jane Doe might have thrown her a little shade back in the day. So we're going to get into all of that and a little bit more. Diddy is a cuckold, or a cuckold. I don't really know what that means, but it's definitely provocative. All right, so we're going to get into all of that and some of the freaky text messages and the freaky voice notes and some of the freaky deaky things that they have gotten into in a few. But before we get started, let's take a message from our one and only Duchess Kelly Love. Take it away, Duchess. Take it away, baby. Yes.
Choir, all my wiggins, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggins, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggins, bring the tea. We go down to the courthouse, bring the tea. He give us our Diddy news, bring the tea. He is never biased, bring the tea. I said, now all my wiggins, bring the tea. I said, all my wiggins, bring the tea. All my wiggins, bring the tea.
All my niggas.
Bring the tea. I want to thank all my. Bring the tea. I want to thank all my. Bring the tea. Oh, he's sassy and classy. Bring the tea.
I said, all my niggas.
Bring the tea.
I said, all my niggas. We bring the tea. I said, all my niggas. We bring the tea. All right, guys. So today was the first day of the cross, okay? So Teeny Garagos was on the stand. So we're just going to jump right into it. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to go over some of the notes, but then sometimes I was in and I was out. I was getting bored with this, but I'm going to give you guys my overall thought anyway. So they set the scene up and she was just talking about, so you met with prosecutors and agents about 24 times for your story. Jane Doe said yes. Had Diddy ever try to stop you? Or had Diddy ever try to stop your attorney because he still pays your attorney fees? She said no. You're testifying in this trial against Diddy, right? Still. And then Jane Doe, that was the first correction. Against him? Well, let me take that back. You're testifying in this trial because you have to. Yes. So what that tells me is Jane Doe would not be testifying if she, as of right now, she would not necessarily be testifying. She has to. She doesn't view this as testifying against Diddy. I personally feel as though Jane Doe would still be with Diddy today at the freak-offs tomorrow if he hadn't got arrested. Because we remember, Jane Doe was supposed to go to New York, but Diddy got busted in New York. And remember, Diddy had all the freak-off gear. The Diddy lights, the baby oil, the high heels, the stripper clothes, the baby oil, the Percocets, pills, ecstasy, ketamine, and everything else. So she was supposed to be at that hotel in September. However, he had got arrested. And so that's the last time she's seen Diddy until yesterday. Okay. You didn't go to Homeland Security, did you? She said no. Homeland Security came to me. Yes. In March, you knew you were under investigation, but you did one more freak off, right? Yes. You knew Diddy was under investigation, but you did one more freak off. Yes. They asked her, does she have immunity? She definitely got immunity. So everybody that testifies on the stand has immunity. You don't want to be prosecuted, right? Right, is what she said. Did you want to break up with Diddy? She said no. I don't want to break up with him. I love him. So you feel resentful that you had with other men because you want to be. She said, yes, I do feel resentful for that because I did everything I could do to be his partner and I wanted him to be my partner. She said, you came back because you loved him and the affection of it all. She said, yes. She said, you were having trouble, but you stayed 8 months later. She said, yes, I went to therapy. And I wrote Garagos was bulldozing her because the lady was trying to talk and she was like, just answer my question. And then they said, Garagos, you have to let the witness answer the question and let her elaborate on the question. She said, you love to cuddle and bathe with him and have time with him. And you like to put on his favorite show. And she said, yeah, I love to put on his favorite show. They said, what's his favorite show? They said Dateline. Everybody started gagging in the courtroom. So what this is telling me is right now, Garagos is trying to set up the scene and she's trying to show that Jane Doe was complicit in all the freak off actions and she's just as guilty as Diddy. However, but she has immunity. So that's the only thing that's separating them. So she's trying to debunk the trafficking, the enterprise, all of these things by saying, hey, this woman, she loves him. She's with it. As of right now, Jane Doe is doing really well, and she seems very confident in herself. That's what I wrote, because what was happening is Jane Doe, when she got on the stand, she was very much so, to me, one of the best witnesses in the case, not because her story couldn't have been picked apart, but because Garagos did not do a great job poking in-depth holes in her story. Maybe she touched the surface, but it wasn't enough to puncture for me. I felt like Jane Doe, as emotional and as sensitive she was last week, or even yesterday when she was on the stand for the prosecution, today, she was very poised. She was ready. She had been through at least 30 minutes to an hour of interrogation by the prosecution to prep her for the cross-examination. And you could tell she was ready to go toe-to-toe with them. And what I liked about her is she wasn't hiding anything. It wasn't like they could use the fact that she still want to be with Diddy, or she's still, or Diddy's still paying her bills. She was like, very much so. He's still paying my bills. I don't want to be here. I love him. I loved him. I didn't want to break up with him. I just didn't want to do the freak offs. So to me, that says, okay, girl, you're trying to make it seem like she was with it, but this woman still was saying, hey, I was with certain things to an extent. Yes, we got freaky. Yes, we talked freaky. Yes, we fantasized. But I didn't want my whole existence as his girlfriend to be a side chick that just got like a hoe box. So I'm not going to sit up here and pretend to you like I don't love Diddy, like I didn't want to be with him, like I don't want his attention, like I'm not freaky with him. So you trying to point this out on me, I'm going to tell you, yeah, I cared about him. Yeah, I love him. Yeah, I was nasty. Yeah, I sent some freaky text messages, but I wanted it to be with him. I didn't want every time I sent a freaky text message, it had to add Sean and Paul. But every time I would try to do so, Diddy would add a dangler to it. So then at some point, I just started including that because I knew that's what he wanted. So at the end of the day, our relationship was built on that. So Fuck it. That's what he want to talk about. So when we get into our fantasy bag, I'm going to talk freaky and nasty with him. So that is kind of the gist of what I got from Jane Doe's story. But we're going to keep going into the things. So I said, she's not backing down from any of her truths. She's keeping it real. I loved him and I would still be with him today. But I had resentment for him because he introduced me to this sexual lifestyle. So she was resentful because she felt like he introduced her to this freak off lifestyle. And then Garagos would say, what are the loving things that Diddy would say to you? And she'd say, well, he'd say, I love you. I never wanted to leave you. He was affectionate and we made love. One thing that sends me though, if I hear make love one more time, I'm going to shoot myself. It's no shade. She said that's why she really endured the nights so she could have him as her partner. They said, would you feel the closeness with Diddy? She said, yes. And you wanted him to be fully satisfied, didn't you? Yes. At the time you started dating Diddy, do you feel like he had a demanding schedule? Yes. So that's trying to say, well, girl, you already knew that he was busy anyway. So why are you trying to make a big deal out of it now? They said, you know, he was working on an album, right? She said, yeah, I knew he was busy working on an album. What album was it? She said, I don't remember. They said, was it the Love album? Yes. She said, do you ever go to the studio? Jane said, yeah, sometimes. You loved to see him in that element, didn't you? She said, no, I love to see him in any environment. Did he release the album in 2023? She said, yes. She said, is that when you were in New York? Yes. You felt like you were the only woman that knew what he liked, didn't you? She said, yes. And you like that you felt that way, didn't you? Yes. She said, and so you tried to stay sexy for him, didn't you? She said, I didn't try. I was sexy for him. And he loved it. Everybody said, ooh, okay. Okay. She kind of ate that. They said it was your choice to take the ecstasy, wasn't it? She said it was my choice. She said, I feel like I took the ecstasy because it made Sean feel better for the experience. So let's not, she was kind of giving like, let's not twist this around. That's what I like. She wasn't shying away from taking it, but it's all in how the message got delivered. Jane Doe said, I did it, but be clear. Yes, it was my choice, but there's a nuance to that. And the nuance is, if this man is popping pills every 10 minutes, we're doing a freak off. If I don't do it, it's going to irritate him because the vibe is going to be off. And let's just be honest here. If you've ever done any kind of drugs or drinking or anything in before, and especially with another person, not all the time, but for most of the time, it's kind of like boring when it's you and another person, and then one person's completely sober and you're over here trash. You're like, girl, so you're not gonna have no drink, and I'm just sitting around. So I'm drunk and high as hell. But now you're not gonna drink. You don't. That's boring. Like, girl, take this pill. We on another level. Like, let's be real. Let's read between the lines here. If we about to have a freak off and I'm only one high and you not, it's going to throw off the dynamic. Like, let's be clear here. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have to start looking at the nuances to the situation. So I'm able to see between the lines or read between the lines because Garagos is just trying to put out that, hey, you took the ecstasy, but girl, at the end of the day, we had a freak off and your client was high as hell. And if I wouldn't have done it, it would have threw his vibe off. And I didn't want to deal with that. So let's just do it. Yeah, that's what you want to do. I don't want to hear you complain. The last time I tried to do it and I didn't want to get high, you got mad, you threw a fit, you had an attitude, and you ruined the whole mood. See, here's the thing. We cannot, and there's a lot of you guys that's been in relationships, and I've been in relationships too, where it could either be you or it could be the other person. But let's be clear here. If your man has the attitude or your girl has the attitude, it throws off the whole day. And they could have an attitude by the littlest thing, and they could just start nitpicking and tripping because you didn't do this one thing, or you didn't want to eat this, or you didn't want to go somewhere, but they wanted to, but you didn't want to do it. Even if they say, oh, I don't care, it's okay, you don't have to do it. All of a sudden, their attitude is different because you decided not to indulge in whatever the thing was. So we can't act like that doesn't happen to everyday people. Some of y'all going through that right now. Let's be clear. And so she was trying to avoid the attitude because she already know what he's about to give. And I don't want to deal with this thing and his attitude because he's acting like a little bitch, and I don't want to deal with that. I'm trying to be on vacation. I'm trying to have a good time, and I don't need this nigga whining or walking around pouting and acting short and agitated because it's just going to blow me, and I don't want to deal with it, and I need my coin. Okay? Let's be clear. Like, come on, we got to be real here. So she talked about the fact that they would do role play because that's what Diddy would like. And they said, what kind of role play would you do? Because that was the whole thing. Like, well, girl, we would role play and all that. And she would do they said she would do a lot of cheating role play. They said, well, how does that cheating role play go? Well, the cheating role play would be something like, and I'm paraphrasing these things because there was a lot of D being thrown around. So, I mean, you guys will get the gist. It was more like, I couldn't wait to get that mother escort by himself when you leave and you're at work and I'm sucking his, and he's inside me. That hard, black hard. Now that she was saying that stuff. So she would tell Diddy, yeah, when you leave, I can't wait to have one of these Paul come over or Cabal come over and me. And you won't even know it. And Diddy get hard. Ooh, ready to start throwing his mask off and lotion in and up. Oh, tell me you're gonna cheat on me, you stupid bitch, you dirty white whore, you motherfucking bastard bitch. You know what I'm saying? And he would really get into that. And so he would love that. And so they would do like a cheating role play. They said, did Diddy get turned on when he would give you directions? Yes. They said sometimes you often gave direction. Correct? Yes. She said, you used to wear high heels, right? You would wear high heels, right? She said, right. You would also make arrangements for these escorts, right? She said, yeah, I would make arrangements for the escorts because it was the tone of our relationship. So let's not just make it seem like I'm making arrangements for escorts because I want it. But yes, I did make arrangements because that was the tone of the relationship that was set by Diddy. Like she was giving that, breaking it down. Like, I'm not just going to say yes. I'm going to tell you why. Because just saying yes gives like, yes, yes, I did do that. But let's add a little context to this yes. While you were on the East Coast, did your baby daddy help you with any money? She said, why does that matter? She moved on from that question. You would get back with him on your own, wouldn't you? She said, yes, you would. You remember when he saw the good in you? Yes. Tell me the good things that he's seen in you. What would he do? He would encourage me. He introduced me to gospel. He had her watching his favorite pastor. I don't know if that's TD Jakes. That didn't get said, but he put her on to the Lord, and they would shout after the freak off. And they would speak in tongue and praise ye the Lord. After they played in the finishings and the sloppy seconds. After they, my God, after they had dicks on dicks on dicks on dicks on dicks on dicks, they'd pray to God that every dick shall stand and every nigga will come. And by golly, you're going to take that pill and bitch don't run. Amen? So, whoa. Woo, almost caught me a spirit or some dick. Okay, so let's keep going. Excuse me. You know, when the spirit takes over, you just don't know which way you may go. Hey. But let's get off of that before I start running around in a circle and jump on some ding. You know what I'm saying? Now, Diddy was very smart. And he was able to give her a different perspective on life. Okay? She loved that. Gergo said, you had a swimwear line and a dress line. She said, I still have a dress line. When I make it, I make it. Was he encouraging of that business? She said, yes. Did he invest in that business? She said, yes. How much? $20,000. So why did you need able to work? So why weren't you able? So why did you need to work if you had a dress line? Why weren't you able to work if you had a dress line? She said, because I wasn't able to work because I had the dress line because Diddy took a lot of my time. They said, well, how were you paying your bills? She was getting child support, but it wasn't much, $4,700 a month. She was making about $50,000 in brand deals. And so that's how she was getting money. So they're trying to say, like, okay, did you need money? Are you trying to extort him? Like, what's your vibe? They're digging into her finances now. They said you talked to the director about wanting your own money, correct? Yeah, I wanted to make my own money, and I wanted to make money. I was making money on Instagram. You said Diddy would be upset when you brought up OnlyFans, correct? She said yes. What's your insinuating? What is your reason as to why he was upset? She said because she needed the money and Diddy looked down on it. Like he just wasn't like, he looked down on the fact that it was OnlyFans. It felt like, she didn't need to be on there. She said, do you remember when you asked for permission to do OnlyFans? Why did you ask for permission? She said, yeah, I did. They said, why? Because she said, I wanted to do it. And I wanted to make sure, I'm checking on my man and seeing like, is it good? Should I do the OnlyFans? Like, what's the vibe? So they said, well, did he just randomly send you money? She said, yes. Over the course of 3 years, he just sent you over 150K off GP, right? She said, yeah. So he just sent her about $150,000 over the last 3 years. He would just send her money. Is it true that you said you only date providers? She said, well, yes. I mean, typically a woman like me dates men that, are protectors and providers. As a woman, I feel like, that's the kind of man that I want. And I want a man to take care of home, and as a woman, I feel like I deserve that. And I can't see any woman disagreeing with that. That's how most women think, right? You wanted a big house and a yard for your blank. Apparently somebody got kicked out the courtroom and people were there. And Garrigo, she said, hey, can you say my child? She said, oops. So Garrigo had slightly doxed her a little bit on the record. I'm not going to say what she said, but apparently we can't say that word. And then she said, can you reference my child as my child? She said, oh, sorry. Yeah, let me take that back. March 25th, 2023, after Turks and Caicos, they're talking, I love you, boo, texting, Diddy sent her a voice note. This is, I guess, after the Turks and Caicos. They had a nasty freak off. It was a lot going on. It was, it was a wild time in Turks. They got high, did a lot of ecstasy, cocaine, ketamine. And I think she was leaving. And Diddy sent her a voice note, and we listened to the voice note. Diddy said, baby girl, stay in the light, baby girl. We had a good time. Stay in the light. You are the crack pipe. That's my name. You are the crack pipe. Everybody said the crack pipe. They said, well, what does that mean to you? She said, he's talking about my body. Like he's addicted to my body. Like I'm the crack pipe. Diddy's a hoop because he's always got these different freaky names. Freak off, the crack pipe, trifecta, Bert and Ernie. He's always Nick. Then it's a Friday and a kinky Saturday. Like he's always got nicknames and code names for weird. You know what I'm saying? Then she texts Diddy, baby, you made me smile or die trying. Then they played a voice note from Jane. Hi, my love. I'm dying at your voice note. For the both of us, it was so real. I love being up under you. I'm staying in the light at this new spot. It's going to be a whole new level for us. It's going to be a whole new level unlocked. I had so much fun, baby. It's another level. Energy. Things just feel so good. Have an amazing day, baby. And I'm going to rest up. I love you so much. Mwah. And so they said, and so she said, so you had fun? I said I had fun with him. I did have fun, but in my voice note, you heard me say I had so much fun with you. So I did have a lot of fun with him because I did have fun with him. You know what I'm saying? Turks and Caicos, Miami trip, both were freak offs. That was the point. So you had fun, but you did a freak off, but you don't want to do the freak offs, is what she was saying. But she also said, if you listen to the voice note, I had fun with him. It was what it was. So, and my thing too, I felt like, oh, she got her love contract too. Is that in this? Because there was a point where he was like, you got your contract. It might be later on in the notes, but I wrote something like, she got her love contract, which means he was going to pay her rent. Just because she's chipper in the voice note does not mean she enjoyed the freak off. I feel like she felt like I bagged Diddy. I had a good time. We're about to have a relationship. We're about to go up. You know what I'm saying? That's what that's giving me. We got our love contract. We got our things going on. I'm in a good mood. This rich nigga, we got things. We back together. We're back in it. We good. The love contract was not a real contract. It was more like a verbal contract that he was going to pay her rent. So that's what Diddy was telling her. Like, you know what I'm saying? You got your contract. We had a good time. You got your love contract. Girl, we in it. We had a good time together. You the crack pipe, blah, blah, blah. And she was so happy. But you got to think, she gets to go find any house that she wants. So she's about to start looking for a new spot. So then they pull up a picture of the spot. She said, I know it's big, but it's for our time. So Diddy told her to go find a spot. So they pulled up the picture of the house where she was looking for. We obviously couldn't see it, but that was the next message she sent to Diddy. I know that it's a big place, but for our time and our family, it's quiet, it's safe, and has privacy. And a school district for my child. In a good school district for my child. It was a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house, $10,000 a month. She got approved. But she needed first and last. And then they said she needed 2 months rent. I don't know. I forget how much. She needed a total of $40,000 to move in, pretty much. Diddy, of course, had to pay for that. She said, let me know what you think about the backyard. It's a place. It's your, no, let me know what you think about the backyard. It's your place too. Thank you. This is the voice note. Thank you so much, baby. I love you and I'm so thankful. Girl, if you just got a $40,000 place or $10,000 a month place too, and you did a quiet freak off in Turks and Caicos and you bagged Diddy, I'm sure you're gonna be like, yeah, we had a great time. I'm staying in the light, daddy. I'm staying in that motherfucking lie. ooh. I didn't want to do that, but I had to get my place. But I don't want to do that all the time. Yeah. But I'll stay in the light. I'm in that light. Can I get this house now? Some of y'all do that every day. Some of y'all marriages right now staying in the light. Some of y'all don't got no job, but you staying in the light because that nigga got a job. Some of y'all stand in the light. Because what? You need somebody to pay your rent. And if you don't stay in that light, You won't get those bills paid. You won't get that new wig, that new cut, that new color. So sometimes you have to stay in the light, even when you can't stand that motherfucker. You just have to be quiet and stay in the light until you get what you get. Then you thank you, baby, thank you, baby, thank you, baby, thank you. And you look over like, I didn't want to do that, but I had to get my place. Let's be real. Like, let's be clear here. How many of y'all have stayed in the light, amen? I know I've stayed in the light before. Put some lights in the chat if you've stayed in the light. Now, what we're not going to do is act like we all ain't stayed in the light. Hey, amen? I'm staying in the light right now. Put a light in the chat if you're staying in the light right now. I know somebody listening has got the lights on right now. Somebody right here has the lights on. Amen? Because you know, the minute you turn them lights off, it's all bets are off. Okay? That's part of being in a relationship. You're going to have to keep the lights on. Somebody said, no, I keep a job. Well, good for you. Everybody don't got that kind of light. Amen? Okay. So the point was, she was saying, Garagos was saying, so even if Diddy stopped paying your bills, you had 3 months of rent already paid for, first, last month, and you had a deposit. But I'm like, that's not how rent works, because if she don't pay, they'll give her a 30-day notice and take all that money. So she don't just get to sit in there like that. But in my mind, she was trying to say, like, girl, you were financially taken care of because Diddy told you he was going to pay for your next 3 months or 2 months, and he got you in the place. It was something along the lines of that. Like, he's still paying, and you still had 3 months. And she was like, I guess when you put it like that, if he didn't pay, I technically still have $40,000, you know, in the chamber. I'm like, but I don't think that's how rent works. And I'm thinking like, they don't be trying to give you those deposits back, and they don't be trying to put those sorts of rent like that. So they're like, well, if you can afford it, you know, that landlord has that money. It technically does, but that don't mean that you have that place. So if Diddy stopped paying the bills, the landlord would still have 3 months of rent plus his. I don't know. They had an argument, and he started coming at her and telling her that he paid 3 months of rent. So he would always use the rent as a tool. And she didn't like that because she felt like every time Diddy would get upset, he would throw the rent in her face. And so she had got nasty and said, nigga, I ain't that whole Cassie. I'll make your life a living hell. That's what she said. She said, I did say that. I did. I did say that. I was like, ooh, okay. Then they said, well, you started the relationship on the down low, right? Yes. And you did this because of what? He was dating your friend and you slept with him behind your friend's back, right? Yes. You were also dealing with one of his friends at the time or in the past, right? Yes. And then your baby daddy and him don't get along, right? Right. So that's something. So you a hoe, right? They didn't say that, but you know what I mean. That would be the next line of like, okay, like yeah. So I'm not that convinced that you wouldn't be willing and complicit in a nasty, dirty freak off because you a freak anyway. You behind your friend's back. You was already banging Diddy's homie, and then you done went from one to another nigga, and they don't even get along. So you just a dirty, you know. So that's what the picture that she was trying to, that was the picture that she was trying to, in my mind, she was trying to paint. So 4 months after, her and Diddy were together, I guess apparently they were running around on the DL and she had to hit up KK, which is Diddy's chief of staff, because she felt like she got hit by the paps, the paparazzi. KK said, have Diddy call me. Because she was like, listen, KK, we got paps. Can you call me? Can you call me? Because I don't know what to do. She said, I'm shaking. KK said, don't panic. People come to Diddy's house all the time. It's okay. Nobody knew at that time where she was at Diddy's house that she was getting all over the house. Okay? So she was a little bit nervous about that because they were secretive about their whole relationship. So you see where Garagos' line of questioning was kind of like all over the place. They talked about how she went to Miami for an event for 5 days and how that was. And they would start watching how it all started. They would be watching porn. That's when it started. And Diddy would tell her, look at the man. Look at him. And they would look at the man and focus in on the man's big black while they were having. Now, if you know anything about PH, there's a website called, there's a production company by the name of Blacked. Typically, it's like where teeny bitty, kinky white women are getting tore by big black oiled 11-inch wangers. Does that make sense? And so they were watching a lot of Blacked, and they like big, fine, masculine men. Google it when you have a chance. And then sometimes it'd be like 10 of them. 10 on one white girl or 10 on two. But they all be fine, big, black, muscled, long, buff motherfuckers. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what Diddy would watch. So they went to the Bahamas, they went to Turks and Caicos. They traveled to places. Diddy's taking her places. He brought her bags, he brought her shoes, a Bottega bag. Then she said Diddy told her from the beginning that he was dating other people. Diddy told her that he was polyamorous. And he would date, multiple different women. Okay, there was a lot going on. This man was coming into court, slightly disrupting where I was at. And I wrote too many crackheads allowed at the federal building. But she gave the man $5. But anyway. Her feelings would be hurt over other women. And she would say nasty things about the women. Bad things. She would call them brothel whores and escorts and blah, 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 blah. And they brought up one person that she was upset with. And they said, you was upset with Young Miami, right? Yeah, I didn't like her. Why? Well, because when she started dating Diddy, he was rolling out the red carpet for her, and she would post up on Instagram with her. It was really hard to watch. I was pissed because he went public with her. I didn't like Jeannie either. I didn't like Jesse because he took her to London. He showers Young Miami's with gifts, got her a Maybach. So she asked for a Van Cleef. So Diddy bought it. I think, and this is where she shaded her, I think she also said, that hoe is ran through. And she slept with all of your friends. And you buy her a Chanel bag? Now, they didn't say that, it was the Chanel bag. But she was like, they didn't say technically it was Young Miami. But it kind of gave Young Miami because, well, let me show you. Let me see if I can pull it up. Hold on. She talked about the Chanel bag that the girl posted online and how Diddy was in the store with her. You know what I'm saying? And so something jogged my memory. And shout out to my girl Emily for sending me this receipt over. She's doing a phenomenal job covering the case too. But you remember this.
Take me to Chanel, nigga.
Take me to Chanel, nigga. Remember? And so she was pissed about that Chanel bag. Okay? And they said, do I have that? Hold on. Where do I have that at? Because I'm kind of jumping around maybe. Okay, so no, this is what she said. Because I have it here. I don't give up who you're laying up with. That B is super ran through. All of your friends. He closed down the store so she could go shopping. That's why she was pissed. I didn't want a Chanel bag, and you got her a Chanel bag on top of that. My anger is misdirected. She said her anger was misdirected at other women because she really wasn't mad at the girls at the time. She was really mad at Diddy, but she misdirected her anger at them. And they said, so you didn't get a Chanel bag? She said, this when she got sassy, she said, no, I only got trauma. Everybody gagged. They said, well, what about the Bottega bag? She said, Gergo said, what's a Bottega bag? How much is that? She said, I'm sure you have one of those. Everybody was like, ooh, like, girl, don't play with me. You know what a Bottega bag is, and you know how much they are. Gergo said, how much does a Bottega bag cost? And she said, how much does my body cost? So that's what I'm saying. Like, she was giving it to them. Like, girl, And then the judge was like, just answer the question. So she finally started answering. She wasn't playing with them in that courtroom. Okay. So they talked about, Diddy being jealous too. They said, was Diddy jealous? So yeah, Diddy was jealous too because apparently she got $9,000 from a nigga named Bear. Diddy didn't like that. Diddy didn't want her getting money from nobody else. She also felt like Diddy had issues going on and she was concerned for Diddy's health because he was sad and depressed. He had shaky hands. She could tell in his eyes that, something wasn't right. His gums were gray from the drug use, and his hands were shaky from the alcohol. So she was telling him, let's go to rehab. You have issues. And she said, I know a place where we can take you. Let's go to Thailand. Because something isn't right with you. They said, so in the beginning, you felt like he was a drug addict. So you knew that. You knew he was a drug addict. She said, well, no. See, this is what I'm saying, where she was carrying the conversation. She said, well, no, because they were going to say, so you just know he's a drug addict then. Because they're really trying to say, well, he's just a drug addict and a domestic abuser. But that's not what they're charging him for. So they rather lean in on that because as nasty as that is, as crazy as that is, those are not the charges. So we're going to have to take one of the evils that we're not being charged for. Because here's the thing, what I want you guys to understand when it comes to Diddy. It's all bad around him. I don't want to be labeled as a drug addict or a DV. But in this situation, if I'm fighting for my life and I'm fighting a RICO case and the DV is not in there and the drug addict is not in there, well, call me a drug addict and a domestic violence all day long. I'll accept it because I'm not on trial for that. Do I really want to wear that badge? Do I really want to wear that jacket? No. But I don't want to wear the jacket that they charging me for. So let's divert it and just go around the corner to the other side of the street where it stink. Does that make sense? It's too sticky over here. And they gonna blame me. So let's go to somebody else's dirty ass house. It's all still stinking. But I'm not gonna get blamed for this over here. So that's why they keep putting this on them. And so they said, so you felt in the beginning that he was a drug addict? She said, no, I just felt like he was someone who knew how to party. Now, today, I would say he's a drug addict. Then I wouldn't have looked at him like that. But today, absolutely, he's a drug addict. I'm like, ooh. She said he would take Xanax, Prozac, and an abundance of other antidepressants. You thought he couldn't handle the war in his mind? No. Diddy said he wanted to go to ketamine therapy. I didn't know what ketamine therapy was. I wrote, Garrett goes to trash. She's not strong at all. She asked another question. She said, would Diddy use red lights and oils at other things than freak offs? She said, yes. So, okay, so the red lights and oils, so that was, she was trying to clear that up. But what you see what I'm saying when I'm saying she's trash, it was like, girl, that's not enough. After all the evidence we've seen, that ain't it. We're not dumb. Like, y'all have to, we're not dumb. Y'all have to prove reasonable doubt. So I'm just like, we're not dumb. We know the baby, after all the testimonies, we so that little one question, like, oh, see, the red lights was just for Christmas and the baby oil was just for church on Sundays, or when he listened to TD Jakes. Yeah, okay. You don't need 1,000 bottles for that. What about the Percocets and the ecstasy and the ketamine and the Cassie black eye and the Mia and the grabbing inspired itties? What about that? You know what I mean? And what about Capricorn Clark? What about the turkey meat? What about the apples? What about the turkey bacon? You know what I'm saying? What about a bitch? I kill you. There's a lot of different parts here. Did you ever look into the relationship? She said, yes. They said, what did you find? Well, I looked into why a man wanted me to have so much with another man. I just was trying to understand it. And I found out he was a cockholder. Or is it a cuckolder? Let me look that up and see what that means, because I wrote down cockholder, but maybe I'm wrong. Excuse me. Hold on. So a cuckolder is a husband and an adulterous wife or a partner of for unmarried companions. The wife of an adulterous husband is a cuckold queen. Okay. What is that? So apparently she looked up the definition. And a cuckolder could be a man would watch his woman sleep with another man. And they said, well, what would you try to understand with that? I was just trying to understand why he wanted these nights and why he wanted them so often. So my thing is, now Garagos is Garagos leading her into this. And in my opinion, she's making this look good for the prosecution. Because then she was over there getting her to spill tea. And they said, well, what else did you think that meant? The prosecution was going to object to it. Jane wasn't going to say anything. She had a smirk on her face like, girl, I found some other things out, but, I don't want to do that. Garagos said, well, what are the other things you found out? Prosecution said, objection. Jane was over there like, girl. She was up there smirking and keying. She was like, girl, I found some other things, but They said, well, what did you think? She said, well, it could also mean that the man is bi-curious and uses the woman as a vessel to sleep with the man because he's not ready to sleep with the man. But I told y'all that already. I hollered at the court like, I knew this. Remember, I told you, to me, Diddy still likes a man. He uses the pretty women to get the men over there because there's no reason why you're playing in the finishings and dipping into the sloppy seconds. For you to be playing and finishing in sloppy seconds, meaning you like that. And you talking about let the oil drip. Look at that. Look at that big. Tell him to send a picture. Can you get that? Grab his. Because in my mind, wouldn't you want two women? Why is it every time you want to do a freak off with me, you got to have another nigga? And part of the payment is he has to release the finishings so that you can go ahead and play with the sloppy seconds. That's some tea. And I guess that's called a cock holder. So they asked her how long she would dance in heels. I don't know why that was a question. She said she would dance in heels at the freak off for about 15 to 20 minutes. She had to make everyone feel comfortable. She'd oil everybody up and she danced. In the heels, right? And that was right before the freak off began. They said, were you okay with being filmed? She said, yeah. That's why I liked her, because she was like, yeah. Girl, you're not going to catch me up. I was okay with being filmed. She said, you like that you could watch these videos back? She said, no. I didn't like it, but that was just a part of it. And so we're not going to act like a nigga that's a billionaire, black, powerful, can have any woman he wants, have people falling at his feet, arrogant narcissist. Never forget, this is the same man that making the band walk across the bridge to go get him cheesecake just because he could, for him to just not even really give them a career. You don't think the woman he's dealing with is going to have a lot of pressure? This is the same woman that was slapping with turkey bacon, drop kicking Cassie, choking she's over balconies, and burning down niggas' cars. And guess what? This is also the same guy that everybody all of a sudden, now that he's locked up, has a story about, has a scenario. Everybody wants to get their piece of the pie, but all these niggas and females, whoever, they were quiet as a mouse until now. This man has been getting away with this stuff for over 20 years. And you think one woman has the power to say no, or don't record me, and it's not going to be a problem? But you got grown men turning the blind eye, acting like they didn't know. Now they free to speak on their run-in with Diddy. We're just now finding out what everybody else apparently knew behind the scenes, but was so afraid to talk about it. And you think that she was going to have a problem, or she was even able to say, don't record me? You're crazy. You're crazy. Like, let's be real here. Let's be real. Okay. Now, I'm just saying, in this situation, the reason why I'm able to feel like this is because usually the defense does a great job at creating doubt. But today, the prosecution, they got one. Every time there was a break, prosecution had no issues. We don't have nothing to say. Nope. They finally got one today. Vince has been tearing him up, and y'all know it. But today, I think that If I had to pick a side, who won the day, I'm going to prosecution won today. It's no shade. It's no shade. And y'all know I don't have a dog in the fight. But if I'm looking at it, they didn't do a great job by creating doubt. It almost, to me, it made sense because Jane would use words like, I'm looking at this through different lenses than you guys. So where you all look at it like, well, I let him record me, I'm looking at it as like, I know my nigga. And if I don't let him record me, this is going to be a bigger issue. So literally, you can look at it on paper and say, well, yeah, let him record me. Okay, girl, yeah, let him record me. If that's going to make it work for you, then that's what happened. But it's not that simple. I let him record me because I kind of had to, whether I wanted to or not. So here we are. They said, do you remember telling the government that sometimes you wanted hotel nights to end early? And it ended, right? She said, yeah. Do you remember testifying that you didn't want to work with the stinking, musty, smelly guy? I think I might have a picture of the one that's supposed to be funky too. Let me see. She said yes. And when you didn't like him, Diddy ended it. She said he did. So let me show you guys that one that was supposed to be funky. This is the one that was supposed to be funky. No, Dineva. Let me see. Let me see if I can drag it up for you. I want to post it on Twitter. Hold on. Okay, so this is the one that was, remember I was telling you all about the musty and he had the stinking, all of that? Okay, hold on. Oh, hold on. This is the funky one that she said was stinking. That one was apparently the one that was stinking. Sweaty, it was musty, it was stinking. And Diddy said, just look at that, just put it in your mouth. And she said she was repulsed and disgusted because he was so funky. She said he was stinking like a mother. Yeah. Okay. Let me continue. So let's keep going. And he do look good, huh? But some people is into that. Maybe Diddy told him to come in and have his mustiness out. Maybe he wanted to sniff his ass. I don't know. Maybe the room was supposed to smell like ass and balls. Let me see. Okay, so you were willing to do the drugs. She said, my partner would present me with drugs and I would take them. Ketamine, ecstasy. She said, why ecstasy? She said, well, it would be there, but really ecstasy. They said, so why ecstasy? She said, because I felt sexual and liberated. She said, did you ever take ecstasy with Diddy when it was just you two sometimes? She said, yeah. And Diddy, the chemistry was good, and we were high, and we'd be high, and we'd have fun. Before ecstasy, he would say, what did I write? Oh, before ecstasy, the problem would be he would be agitated. So that means he would need to be high to relax. So he was always agitated. He was cool. When he was high, he was fun. He was a great guy. When he wasn't high, he was mean and agitated. They asked her, how long will she be high? She said she'd be high at about 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours. And as it would wear down, sometimes they broke it up. Sometimes they took the whole pill. But on one of those nights, every now and then she would probably go, every 2 to 3 hours, she'd take another pill of ecstasy. That's a lot of pills. Every 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes it'd be a broken piece off, sometimes it'd be a whole pill, just depending on the night. Then when she would get upset and cry, Diddy would tell her, stay in the light. Don't cry. You're going to mess up my high. Stay in the light. Don't cry. You're going to ruin my high. So she couldn't cry. They said there would be a thing where Diddy would call it Good Friday. It would be called Friday. See, that's another nickname. She said, what is Good Friday? So Friday is where you just say, it. You know, it's just Friday. You just say, it. I've had a long week and I want to party hard. Hey guys, it's Good Friday. You testified that KK, did you ask KK, would it be okay to transport drugs? She said, no, I asked her, would it be okay? Like, how does this work? I did ask her, would it be okay? But I didn't ask her, was it okay? Like, oh, I want to transport drugs. I asked her, like, because she did it before, is it okay? Like, is this going to work? But see, the line of questioning was like, oh, you asked KK, can you transport, is it okay to transport drugs? But she was like, no, I didn't ask her like that. I asked her in a way like, is this shit gonna work? Is this cool? Apparently, KK didn't like Jane. I also wrote, this is hard to follow. I said, Garagos is struggling. This is hard to follow. Because she was just all over the place. She would skip questions. It was just a lot. So if it's hard to follow for y'all, this is what it gave. She said, I didn't feel like KK liked me much. I'm thinking, do KK like Diddy? KK always had a strong opinions on her, which could, you know, alter the way that Diddy would take care of her or treat her. Then he asked her about Paul. You guys remember Paul, right? Remember, Paul is the guy when she squirted the liquid Molly in her mouth and she rolled Paul out into the sunset. When he asked her about Paul, she smirked. Oh, Paul. She was smiling. I'm like, I wrote, oh, she's really smiling about Paul. She said, yeah, Paul. I really liked him. We made love. She was playing on that stand. And they said, you, Paul, and Diddy would have a nickname. She said, yes. They said, well, what was the nickname that Diddy gave you, him, and Paul? She said, Oh, I have a picture of Paul. Let me see. Here's Paul. Let me show you the picture of Paul. I do have a picture of Paul. This is the picture of Paul. Hold on, let me put it on Twitter. I do have a picture of Paul. Somebody said, show the picture of Paul. I do have a picture of Paul. And we can go through the picture of all the niggas, actually. I do have a picture of Paul, though. Okay. So this is Paul. Hold on. Paul. Uh-huh. Wow. There's Paul. I think she met Paul on Black too. She was talking about Paul. So her, Diddy, and Paul, they were called the trifecta. And she said, well, what's the trifecta? She said it was just three of them. To me, the one and only time I've ever heard of the trifecta is when I go get my seafood boil and I want all the sauces. The lemon pepper sauce, the Cajun sauce, and the garlic butter sauce. You get them all, it's called the trifecta. That's the reason why I know what it's called. Now, I didn't know that it was giving Diddy, Paul, and Jane. They said, well, who was who in the trifecta? She said the team was made of Kobe, Shaq, and Jordan. And of course, she was Kobe Bryant, Paul was Shaq, and Diddy was MJ. And they would all fuck each other. Diddy's gay. Like, why is everything so much testosterone, sweat, balls, locker room, and men? She couldn't be a woman? She had to be Kobe and Shaq and Jordan? Wow. So she was Kobe Bryant in the trifecta. They had sports basketball. They was a basketball team. Paul was Shaq, and Diddy was MJ, Michael Jordan. Oh, yes. I said, Jane is up here playing in these people's face. They said, would you call them your boys? She said, yeah, they were my boys. It was the fantasy. You would call him your boyfriend. They were my boys, you know. They said, where did you find Cabral? She said, well, we were looking at Cabral on PH, and it was a production company called Blacked. And we saw him on Blacked when we were watching his videos. And Diddy wanted me to go on Instagram to get him. And she said, well, Diddy was right there. Diddy was right there. And they said, well, but you went and you messaged him. That's a bold move. She was like, yeah, I did. But I mean, and she basically said, I'm going to get what I want. Like, he wanted me to do it. I did it. She said, Diddy didn't make her do it, but Diddy was encouraging her to do it. So they were talking that fantasy talk, but Diddy was like, so the thing was, Diddy was like, he was excited because he never had a woman actually do it. And he wanted a woman to do it. And so what he would say is, you know, they would have the freak off talk and they would, you know, do the fantasy talk. But Diddy was like, I need your help, or I need your guidance. I need your assistance, things like that. But that was basically saying to her, oh, you want me to pick the next guy. You want me to take the lead. So that was part of his fantasy. So she did it. And while she was looking for the nigga, Diddy would be on the side. And he would say, get that dick. Get that dick. Yeah, you're going to take that dick. You want that dick? Can you take that dick? Get that dick. Get it. Get it. Get it. Bring that dick here. Bring that dick here. Bring it here. And so I'm thinking, really? Really? So he was living through her. He was saying, get that D. Can you get that D? Take that D. You want to take that D? He didn't ask her to do it, but he encouraged her to do it. Diddy was happy when the girl actually picked the guy. Later on in the future, Cabral ended up being one of their favorites. But not too long after that, Cabral tried to extort Jane Doe because Diddy made a mistake and recorded a freak off in Cabral's phone instead of Diddy's. He didn't want the video out. She didn't want the video out. So they was trying to figure out how to get that done. They inevitably figured that out. They found Anton, another escort, off the same site, blacked. So they would search blacked on PH and hit the niggas up. Now she's trying to protect the enterprise. Now this is where Garagos is trying to protect the enterprise. Did KK know escorts were coming to the hotel rooms? Jane said, I don't know. I don't think so. I said, but what I think is interesting about this, she's not against Diddy nor for the prosecution. She seems like she's in it for herself, also with a little bit of a whack to Diddy, but she doesn't want to end him. So I kind of felt like Jane is like, hey, Diddy, I told you don't play with me, but I'm not here to end you because I still love you. But I'm not trying to like embarrass you, but girl, I'm also going to tell the truth. I don't care about this prosecution either. I don't care about none of this, but I'm just letting you know I could have been your rider, but you played with me and you thought these other girls were going to be here for you. But look who's on the stand and look who's here, got your back. Where are these rest of these other hoes at? So sweat. After lunch, we jump into text messages. I miss you. Sunday fun day. Diddy says, I have a plan. Fly ATL in and let's have a Freak Fest birthday party. She said, I'm still going to be bleeding, baby. Diddy said, have you been thinking about it? This where he's leading. Because I want to see you with that ATL. That ATL did. Now, ATL was Cabral. They finally picked Cabral. So she's like, fly out ATL. See, another nickname. Fly out ATL. And let's have a Freak Fest. Have you been thinking about it? So he's obviously feeling some type of way. So she's going to probably be like, well, yes. Because he's like, I want to see you with that meat. And she says, yeah, I can't wait to see that dick, baby. And then Diddy said, well, have you been thinking about it? Tell me you've been thinking about it. And she says, yeah, I've thought about that dick, pulling it out and pushing it inside of me and hitting my G-spot and coming all over me. Something like that. So many words. Pushing past me, and while I'm grabbing it and getting She was a long text message. I had to abbreviate some of it. Oh, and then she said, I was thinking about that, and then I thought about it, pushing and pulling in and out of me, pushing past my spot, and you'll be right there pouring that warm, hot oil on my, and it rhymes with it, and it starts with C-L. They said, so why did you say all of that? And what is the oil got to be warm for? She said, well, that's what he likes. So clearly he asked me, was I thinking about it? So he wanted me to get into this fantasy. So I just said the things I know he likes. He likes that warm oil. But that's what I'm saying. That makes sense. He wants the warm oil. She said, but she was following his lead. And he told her to lead. So that's why she mentioned the oil. Then she said, yeah, I want to be jerking Paul while he waits his turn, and Cabral is deep inside of me. So she said, and Diddy's gonna be pouring the hot oil on her. She want to be jerking Paul, and while Paul is waiting his turn, she's jerking him while Cabral is tearing her back up, and Diddy's sitting there pouring hot oil on him with red lights. And Diddy's sitting there, yes, yes, tell me more. Tell me more, you son of a. I just feel like I feel like they had Diddy somewhere hog tied with a gag ball. She texts Diddy, good night, baby. Feel better. Just dropped off my child. Hope you're doing good. Diddy said, how are you? She said, I'm good, babe. Just got a content shoot today. Diddy writes, she's having regular conversation. Diddy writes, I want to eat your thing. She sent an emoji, tongue and water. They said, well, did you send that back? She said, yeah. But this is what I was saying, like, who don't send that to their man? Like, I didn't really think that was saying I want to freak off because I sent my nigga tongue and water because he said he wanted to eat my. She said, you want to come over to my place after 4 p.m.? He said, no, I have to go to the studio. And she said, well, you tell me I'm free after 3, baby. I want to sit on your face. Then there was going to be a voice note, but they didn't end up playing the voice note. I don't know why they didn't play the voice note. I was kind of heated about that. So they didn't play the voice note. But here we go. Diddy text her and said, oh, I'm so for you. No. She said, no, Jane text. Jane said, Daddy, I'm sorry for you. Diddy said, what do you want to do? Be explicit. Be explicit. Tell me what you want to do. So then she goes, I just want to suck pause while you give me that strong stroke game. Make it clear. She said, and then she was making it clear. She said, but I want to be clear. This is for the fantasy. This is what he wanted to do. So this is why I said these things that I'm about to say. Because he told me to be explicit. And I knew he wanted the fan. This is how she was testifying. So this is why I said what I said. They said, just say what you said. I want to suck that hard D while sucking another hard D while another heart is in me, while another heart is right behind me, right in my wet, sweet E. It was something along those lines. It was a lot of, and she told, and with a hearing, it was everywhere. Okay. So she would tell Diddy, and then Diddy responded, ooh, woo, like, ooh, yes. And Diddy texts her, what you want to do? Then she texts back, I want to spend time with my favorite person. He said, just myself? Because I can't have Paul at my house. Because they're not allowed at the house because it's just too many things. As a house manager, housekeeper, it's too much. But Diddy wanted Paul to come over. She said, yes, I know, baby. I just have to go to the store to get some stuff that you like. But the only option Diddy gave her was having Paul come over. Diddy wanted Paul to come over, but she was like, you want to bring Paul, but I can't have him at my house. So the only option Diddy gave her was Paul coming through. When she asked she asked Diddy what he wanted to do. And he wanted to bring Paul over and come over. She was like, well, I want to spend time with my favorite person. But she was like, Diddy was saying like, well, I can't have Paul come, just me, because I can't have Paul to come to my house. She was like, well, yeah, I know. We could just come to my house. Because he gave her no other option because he only suggested Paul. If you can do something freaky and nasty, what would you do? That's what Diddy said. She said, I'd put something on sexy for you. I'm always ready. Diddy said, for just me? She said, yes, just you. Yes. But I'm down. She said that because he was like, you just want to do it with me? But like she knew that he wanted more. I said Jane Doe was breaking it down and teasing and taunting her. Okay. So basically, Geragos is trying to prove through text messages that Jane wanted to freak off too. However, she didn't. And she explained that she did whatever that Diddy would gaslight her or tease her into talking freaky, because he was like, if she didn't want to do it, she'd be like, oh, so you can't handle that. You can't handle that. You can't do that, huh? I bet you can't. So you kind of like playing, but you like, yeah, I can do it. I can do it. And then all of a sudden the nigga's being called over. But you take the flirtatious playing and teasing and you take it to another level. He also told her that he's had so much sex that he can't just have regular sex anymore. He needs freaks. So she would lean into ultimately what he wanted. I want to suck that in the shower. Diddy told her, do you want to peek into a sex party? She was like, okay. She said that she wanted to peek into, she was okay, let's pretend like we want to do a sex party. She said all that because Diddy said he wanted to go to a sex party. So her point was, I'm leading him because he told me to lead him. I said, this cross is proving her point and putting more validation into Jane's testimony. Oh, and then there was I think this was so she said, looking for flights. She'll be there in 24 hours. This is to set up the guy with ATL. This is the voice note. Set that last vision up that we talked about. Don and ATL. Set that up. Don and ATL. That last little vision we had. That was a voice note, Diddy said. Diddy said, well, I heard him. He was like, yo, set that little thing up, Don ATL. That thing that we talked about. Yeah, set that up. He told her to do it. I heard it with my own ears. So then she said, hey, baby, I can set it up, but I thought you wanted to wait till after the album. Because that was supposed to be the treat. So I wrote, it's clear that she was trying to stall until the birthday. She's not really feeling it to do it right now. But Diddy's like, set that up right now. Bring that Nick, bring those two bigs up now, baby. We finna do this. And then we got into the Young Miami homegirl that's ran through. You got her Chanel bag, all this, that, and the third. I told you guys about that earlier. She said, I can't stop thinking about you. I can't stop. I want to be nasty for you. I wish you were here. We can play our videos on our new TV and lock ourselves in the room. She said, if you didn't want to do that, why would you say that you want to lock yourself in the room and watch the videos of you and the freak off? She said, well, I knew he would like that, but if we would spend time together, he loved to watch porn together. It would just be me and him. I didn't say I want another nigga to come over, but at the end of the day, you already know that that's going to lead to another. But she said it was like flirtation, and she sent like the water emojis, like our wet sea and stuff like that. She said, Dan, I can't stop thinking about it. It gets better and better. Diddy said, what are you thinking about? She said, I've never so hard like that. Everything was so good and hard and wet. It was so sexy. The way that you off me. This was after a freak off. She told him it was just so hard and wet and this and that and third. So they were trying to, and that's where I was like, all right, I'm done taking notes on this today. I was done. So what I got from Jane Doe is that she wanted to be in a relationship with Diddy, but she also is a manipulator a little bit. And she's doing a little bit of a get back, but it still doesn't change the fact that she was trafficked by fraud, because I feel like she might have went into it like, okay, I want a little bit of a come up. I want this man, but it wasn't like I want to get him to harm me and then I want to leave him dry. It was more like, I want to hit a lick and I want him to be mine. Like she was going to stay. Some people want to come up to like get the money and go. She wanted to be his girlfriend. And she thought she was working towards that. And Diddy would promise her certain things. And how they prove the fraud is that you have to promise them something material. Like it has to be materialized. Like, all right, I'm going to take you here, or I'm going to do this for you, or we're going to be in a relationship, or we're going to go on these trips. We're going to go shop, all those things. And to her state of mind, she thought that she was a girlfriend and she was going to get the perks of a girlfriend, but she never was the girlfriend. But yet, every time she went on a trip, or every time she went on a birthday, every time she went on a dinner, she ended up being freaked off. And a pill ended up popping in her mouth. That's the fraud. That's the trafficking. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting, guys. Also, tomorrow, they're trying to consider switching out a juror. So we're trying to figure out what juror is going to be switched out. If a juror is going to be switched out, we don't know yet. We'll find out tomorrow. Also, we're going to find out if anybody in the courtroom has been saying Jane Doe's name or doxing any of the private witnesses. Word around the curb is there's been YouTubers and or publications saying the name of the Jane Does. Apparently, the prosecution and the defense and the court is trying to hawk down on that. I don't know. They're saying there's some people on different sides. There's been a lot of different things happening with that. It's a lot of funny business. They feel like some people's getting caught, some people's not. Prosecution is picking certain people out and not other people. I don't know what's going on. They're going to see people's talking about people saying names. I know I ain't saying no names, but they're trying to crack down on YouTubers and different publications saying these people's names. So again, don't say these people's name in the chat. Okay? So we're going to see tomorrow what happens. And we'll see if anybody gets removed from the court. If there's any, content creators, if there's any YouTubers, if there's any jurors, we'll see. We'll see who's on the docket. So they're supposed to be doing a research report to see who said what. So we'll see, guys. Until then, thank you guys for the 100K. I will be on Ashley Bain in an hour. So if you guys want to head over to, I think it's going to be live. So it's going to be on News Nation. I'm going to be on News Nation tonight for the 10 o'clock show. So I'll see you guys, anybody that watches News Nation. I'll be over there. Oh, sorry. I'm saying the name wrong. Ashley Banfield. Ashley Banfield. I'll be on Ashley Banfield tonight. So we're going to get into some things. I'm horrible with names. Y'all know that. So I'll be on Ashley Banfield, but you should get my name wrong too. So we love it, girl. I'm sure I'll be arming tonight. So, yes. I'll see you guys over there. And I love you all. All right. Peace out. First show down, next show. Listen, y'all, I'll be really working. That's why I'll be tired. My days start early, my nights end late. Whew. But I love y'all. I'm still not off. I got a whole nother show to do. Love y'all. Bye. Make sure you subscribe. All right, peace out.